How do you drive innovation and challenge the status quo? Welcome to the Immerse Catalyst series in partnership with Lloyds Bank. I'm your host, Izzy Obeng, CEO of Foundervine. And in this 4-part series, we will be bringing you incredible founders who are defying the odds and shaping their industries in different ways. We'll be talking about the highs, the lows, the challenges, and that thing that keeps them driving forward. The next guest in the series is Dr. Tru Powell. Tru is a creative entrepreneur and branding expert who's been working to support entrepreneurs, inspire young people, and drive change. He's a Chief Executive Officer of the MBCC Awards, which celebrates unsung heroes, and he's also an international speaker and podcast host. I'm really pleased to be joined by Dr. Tru Powell. How are you, Tru?
I am very, very good, thank you. And firstly, thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Thank you for joining us, and all the way from Birmingham.
Yes. Well, 1-2-1 football.
I love that. And I've been really looking forward to this one, I must say. You have got such an inspiring journey, and you are at the moment many things. But if I had to distill it into a title, if I was forced to, you are a creative entrepreneur and branding expert.
Yes.
And you have been recognized plenty times over for the incredible work that you've been doing to support local communities, to champion young people, for all of your activism. So I came across you about a year ago when you were recognized as one of 25 top Black entrepreneurs to watch in the UK. An incredible list, but it hasn't always been that way. You've had quite a difficult journey. Be great if you can tell us about that.
Very, very difficult journey. So I grew up in Newtown, Aston. So for those of you who don't know, that's the inner city in Birmingham. And I grew up in the 90s, and it was quite, quite difficult. There was a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs. It was really, really tough. My mum was a single parent. She fled an abusive relationship, and she set up in Newtown with her 7 children, 6 of which was boys. And although life was really, really difficult growing up, we definitely come from humble beginnings. My mum was a very, very hard worker, but we lived in poverty. We struggled financially, but we had so much joy. There was so much love in our house. We were so close. My brothers and I were very, very close. My sister was kind of our protector. She was the oldest, and she taught us many things. To wash, cook, clean, to fend for ourselves in this difficult thing that we call life at a very, very early age. So from a very early age, I developed a strong sense of resilience from seeing my mum and how she overcame, abuse, and how she overcame, being a single parent and struggling with 7 kids. So I very, very much learned that at an early age. I also learned how to fight for what I want and how to fight for a better life. And I was standing on a chair and washing up at the age of 6 and stuff like that, which, we can't probably do now because social services will be at your door. But back then it was a great life lesson because it taught us how to look after ourselves and how to look after home. And I'm just forever grateful for those small lessons in what you would probably call, adversity.
So you talked about resilience, and that really comes through. I also have a very strong mother figure. She raised 3 children by herself, and I always think about my mom and my grandmother and the women I had in my life who kind of showed me kind of what was possible if you put your mind to it. That resilience has translated into so many things that you've done in Birmingham, in the UK, beyond. It'd be great if you could tell us in your own words what your journey's been like from a work perspective. What have you worked on? Tell us everything until where we are now.
I first started my career in event management, and then I went off to uni. And whilst I was studying at uni, I was also working full time at the Drum Art Centre, back then it was called. And the Drum Art Centre was the largest kind of black art centre in Europe at the time. And I was doing that whilst I was at uni. And from there, I was doing some fantastic events. So, we were doing events for the likes of Music Soul Child and, Flowetry and all of these great artists, as well as kind of theatre productions. And then I got headhunted from a company called Marketing Birmingham, who delivered, if you like, major events, corporate events for professionals and leaders across the city and across the region. So I went over to there and done events, and it was great because it really kind of introduced me to the world of networking. It introduced me to the corporate world. It introduced me to, I was doing events for politicians and senior leaders, and from these big organizations, and little old me carrying all the banners and prepping everything up. And I remember saying to myself at the time, and saying to my wife at the time, this has to be a springboard for something. Me being here has to be a springboard for something. So my wife would be there, and we would be up at night looking at the delegate list, and there'll be like 200 people on this delegate list of senior leaders, and just remembering who they are, what their names are, what their titles are, what they do. Because for me, those were going to be my, I guess, my network, my group of people that can support whatever I do in whatever space, because the list was so varied. And if I needed something, the name would be on that list. Anything in the world, the name of somebody will be on that list. Somebody on this list will be able to help me with it. So I deliberately learned the names, and I still know them now. Even now, when I'm speaking to my wife, and I was like, "Oh, this person was here," she'll be like, "Oh my God, I remember that name." So I eventually left that organization, and then I was like, I want to set up on my own. I want to do my own event agency, which I did. Went back to the organization and said, look, I'm leaving, but I want to do the events under my agency. And they were gracious enough to accept it. So that was my first big retainer for the agency. And I got 3 years worth of work out of them. And whilst doing that concurrently, I had a performing arts school for disadvantaged young people. Long story, when I was young, I didn't have a safe space as a young black boy living in the inner city to participate in dance and drama and sing, confidently and do it without being ridiculed. And I thought, I want to create a safe space for particularly young black boys out of the inner city to really engage in the arts at an affordable cost. So
amazing. So it's because you had plenty of time.
Wow, it's just and to be fair, that was the first thing that we did. So that's been going for 20 years, and I say me and my twin brother, who's also a co-director. Who's also a co-director of the academy. So we just needed to. We knew that we needed to do something. We knew that we wanted young black boys to dance and sing to Spice Girls without being ridiculed. And there was no space for them to do that. So we had to create it. And it's really interesting seeing, 18, 19, 20-year-olds dance and sing to Spice Girls now in our academy. And we're like, yes. But yeah, so and then I think for me, when it comes to business, I just like to think about it and think, oh, I want to do that. And I will just do it. So it kind of started from there. So we launched a kids bar. Both me and my sister did, Candy Girl, which it's a huge brand that's doing really, really well. And then of course I got involved in the NBCC Awards, which we'll probably speak a little bit about. And out of that, and then of course lockdown happened, and then a load of things was happening. And then I decided that I wanted to really work with entrepreneurs around their personal branding and really help support them, because I knew the power of building a brand. I knew the power of networking. I knew just remembering the list of 200 people got me to this point where I am in life. And I just thought maybe those kind of skills entrepreneurs and CEOs and leaders can really, really learn from. So I decided to launch a consultancy and coaching based business in during lockdown. That's just doing incredibly well at the moment. So yeah,
Okay.
the list is endless, absolutely endless.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
And, that journey really resonated with me. I think, I can definitely see that entrepreneurial spirit. There's a lot of people who would think some of these things, oh, I wish I had a space where young people can come and explore their creativity. I wish I could, branch out and do events my way, but
Mhm,
wouldn't necessarily translate it into building multiple businesses.
mhm.
So what drives you? What is that thing that's got you to take that idea into a reality in that way that you have done?
Honestly, I think fear, the fear of not being able to provide, the fear of not being able to give my kids experiences, the fear of not being the fear of worrying about when the next, would we afford the next mortgage or like all of those things. It's so fearful, which kind of makes me think actually we've got to work harder. I've got to, put the work in. I've got to make sure that, I'm a living, walking example and success for my kids. And I'm on that journey to create that generational wealth. I do not want my children's children to worry about money, about their future, about security. I'm going to be a granddad soon. Well, pops soon. Thank you.
Congratulations. I hear you. I hear you. Two words that you said really well, three words made me think generational wealth
Mm.
and legacy. What are the key challenges you see for our community in terms of building generational wealth and building the kinds of businesses that are going to stand the test of time?
Very good question. So the first thing I think is mindset. I think that is the biggest killer of our dreams. We can often, and we may inherit this, but we can often suffer from extreme imposter syndrome. We often don't think that we belong. We often don't think that we're offering value, and we can, because of that, suffer from it and not pursue our dreams and not go out there and with our chest and be like, we can do this. Um, and also as a result, we don't aim high. We aim at a mediocre level. We don't believe that we can achieve, above and beyond. And I think we need to start shifting our mindset, and we need to start thinking big. We need to start thinking actually we can do this and we will do this. So I think that's one of our biggest killers amongst our
Mhm.
community. Um, of course, I'm not withstanding anything, and I know that statistics show us that it's not a level playing field, and it's not equal in any way, shape, or form. But just because it's not equal, it doesn't mean it's impossible, and I think that's what people tend to forget. There's sometimes our community are a crime to ourselves in the sense that we would kind of say it, it's not fair. We're just not going to get that to that point and not try and just give up. Whereas, yes, it's unequal, but it doesn't mean that we can't do it. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's impossible.
Yeah.
We just have to have a mindset to say we can reach there and we will reach there and nothing's going to stop us from reaching our goals. And that's the mindset that I've always had.
So it's interesting you mentioned that risk aversion. So I grew up in Tottenham in North London and definitely big similarities
Mm,
by the sounds of it to where you grew up. Whereas the generation coming after, seeing the opportunities, understanding the landscape a bit more and thinking, oh, actually, I can build something. And perhaps there's still that risk aversion. There's no safety net.
mm,
If I choose to start and grow a business and it doesn't work, who's going to pay my bills?
mm-hmm,
Who's going to look after my family? Who's going
mm-hmm,
to send money back home if I have to?
mm-hmm,
And perhaps sometimes that gets in the way of us truly building the kinds of businesses that can scale, or maybe building things and fearing taking the kind of big risks that might pay off and might not pay off.
mm-hmm.
What
I
do you think?
absolutely agree to that. And an example, my mum just started in the last, I would say, 2 years, and I've been in business a very long time, to really start to understand kind of what I do. And
My mum still doesn't know what I do.
and I'm an identical twin brother, so we kind of pretty much done everything together. And my brother's a deputy head teacher. So for the last, I would say, 5 years, my mum's always been, are you not going to get a proper job like your brother? Like, why? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing on TV? What are you doing here? What are you doing at all these events? Like, you should be getting a proper job like your brother. And I'm like, Mum, I'm working. Like, this is my job. And I just don't think she quite understands the opportunities that can come from business. And I think only in the last, I would say, 2-3 years, she started to understand and realize and really get kind of what I'm doing and how well I'm doing. Probably because I take her on holiday nearly every year and stuff. But yeah, it's
She's seen the money come in, but
she's
she's
seen it.
confused.
Yeah, she's like, where are you getting this from? But yeah, it's powerful how we inherit the norms and the traditions from the generations that come before us. And I think those things we have to start to unlearn, unpack, and think bigger and think wider and think actually there is a landscape out there that we can really penetrate and we can benefit from if we just start to unlearn some of the traditions and learnings that we've been taught from our.
You spend a lot of time supporting younger people and helping kind of build them up in different ways. Tell us about that work and how you support in dealing with some of those self-esteem issues.
Oh, so I think that's a really important question. And I think one of my philosophies is true. You've got to build things that build things, you've got to, and what I mean by that is you've got to build up the young people so they can pay it forward. So then you can instill into them and then they can start building things. And it's really gracious because one of our young people who came through the academy, he would know who he is, but I won't mention his name. But he very difficult time at school. On the verge of being expelled. Me and my brother got involved. Spoke to the teachers and so forth, and said, "Look, he has a gift here in the arts. We can use the arts as a engagement tool to engage him, and then start working on his self-esteem and confidence, and which." For me, was one of the reasons why he was getting into trouble. And it was incredible because he immediately was drawn to the stuff that we were doing, settled down at school, was with the academy for a very long time, probably about 8 years throughout his duration. Went off to uni, studied acting, then got a job in Coronation Street, which was absolutely incredible. Living it up acting there, and then decided that actually he didn't want that life. He wanted to set up his own, theatre school for disadvantaged young people in the same way that we set it up APA, because he recognised the benefit that it had on his life. And for me, that is a clear example of building things that build things, and making sure that they pay it forward. And the reason why we do the performing arts work isn't just because we want to sing and dance to Spice Girls. We also believe in our heart that it's not just about giving them an opportunity to sing. It's about getting them off the street. It's not just about allowing them to fulfill, their desires to being performing arts, but it's about building their confidence, building their self-esteem, and also allowing them to think big, and also being a representation for them. I make it my duty, as busy as I am, to be at our sessions every single week. My young people need to see me there. They need to see me active. They need to see living examples of what a quote unquote successful, black man is.
I love that. Just being that change that you want to see, allowing them to see you as an example of what they can be as a difference. And let's talk about the awards. So I've been, again, watching the MBCC Awards for a while, and you are 6 years going, aren't you now? 6 years going, and have quickly established yourselves as one of the leading awards recognizing local champions, recognizing people who are doing incredible things to build a more inclusive business sector, more inclusive communities all over the UK. Tell us a bit about how the awards came about and also your role leading it.
Yes. So the awards were founded by Zoe Bennett in 2016, I believe. It's just been a journey, and I think what I've really, really liked about it is the fact that we keep it at such a grassroots level, and people can be recognized for the simple work but yet challenging work that they do that often goes unnoticed. So, it could be a guy on the football pitch that for the last 30 years, no one would think anything of it, but actually that's incredible work because he's volunteering his time. Foster carers who open their houses for years and years for children, volunteers who are out there giving their time, people who work in for charities and in domestic violence, and all of these great, 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 great people doing great things need to be recognized. And then when we look at the businesses and entrepreneurs and leaders, we also think, well, what have you done? Why would you need to be recognized? And it's not just the normal business awards where we just kind of look at turnover and stuff. Actually, we want to know exactly what have you done to help others, to bring others along, or what have you done within your business to fight for equality or to fight for a better place for us to live and work. And sometimes we get these amazing entrepreneurs who are turning over millions, who submit applications but don't make the shortlist, and then send me emails saying, "How dare I don't make the shortlist?" And I'm like, well, you've done amazing in your business, but what have you done? You didn't demonstrate what you've done to support others, what you've done, what you've done to provide opportunities for your staff, to build your staff, to give back, and it's just incredible. One of the award winners last year, he won outstanding business. And he runs an incredible business, but he also launched a foundation that helps disadvantaged children across the world. For me, powerful, amazing, incredible.
Fantastic. What's his name?
Sonny, his name is, and the business is ISA Security, which is a multi-million-pound business, an incredible business. But it wasn't just about the business; it was about actually what he used his business to also launch and facilitate. And I think those are the types of stories that we love to hear. There's plenty of awards that just look at the performance of the business, and that's actually great, and there's a space for that. But actually, if you want an MBCC award, you need to think about how have you thought about others. How have you been selfless?
So that's one of the biggest things. How have you been selfless?
Yeah.
How have you supported others?
Yeah.
When people are looking to apply.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I did want to talk about unsung heroes.
Yes.
Something you mentioned. Who's been your unsung hero?
I've had so many. I really have. So firstly, mother, Mummy P. She's just absolutely amazing in everything that she does. And just, I spoke about it before, but her resilience to get up day after day and to reclaim some of the power back that was stolen from her is just so inspiring. So she's definitely an unsung hero of mine. In business, I've had a few. So when I first launched my event agency, I was mentored by two people actually from Trinity Mirror, they're called Reach PLC now, who's kind of like the media beast in our region. And I was nominated for an award, a Young Leaders Award in 2014 for the work that I was doing with the Academy. And as part of the award win, you get mentorship. I didn't win the category that I was in, but we're not sour about that.
We're not
sour about that at all. I didn't win the category that I was in, but I still emailed the organisers of the award, which was Reach PLC, and was like, I didn't win, but I still want a mentor. Like, I don't care about the trophy, I want a mentor. But all the mentors were allocated. So they said, we really appreciate it. We'll mentor you. So when I said that I was leaving work, they kind of, to go full time in on my own business, on my own event agency, they gave me the tools, the mentorship in order to do that. They pretty much started me up. They done all the branding work. They done all the website, all the business cards, and also they gave me the first job of launching a major Birmingham campaign event for them, and then said, "Off you go on your way." And without that, without that kind of, I guess, belief in me in order to do what I do, and that support and that financial support, then I honestly don't think that I would have been able to grow the business in the way that I did, or even start the business in the way that.
I'd love to talk about some of your lessons, the lessons you've learned over the years. Kind of what advice would you give to someone who's up and coming and is trying to build a business or help an initiative grow? What advice would you give them?
Oh, this is a really good question. So my first piece of advice would be never stop learning. Never ever stop learning. And I think for founders, particularly, we believe that just founding a business sometimes could be enough, and it really isn't. It's like 2% of the work. Like, it's just, yes, you've had a great idea,
It's tough.
but right? Like, remember that, founding a business and growing a business are two completely different things. And it's not enough to just say, "Oh, I founded a business and that's it." You have to grow the business, and if there's something that you don't understand in business, if you don't understand how to do the numbers, if you don't understand how to market, if you don't understand, certain business principles, then go and learn it. Founding a business is not enough. You have to learn how to run a business, and I see so many people fall into that trap. Oh, I've got this amazing product or amazing service, but yeah, are you running it like a business? Are you actively running it like a business? And if not, then you need to be. Second thing would be, you know, drop the pride and the ego. I think that's so huge. But once you drop pride and once you throw ego out the window, opportunities will come to you, and you'll start to recognize opportunities and opportunities in others, and you'll start to ask people for things because you don't have an ego and you're not too proud, and you'll start asking. And I don't mean financial things or physical things, but it might just be know-how, knowledge, questions of those who have done it before that can help you, mentorship. For the first couple of years, I had a ego in business, and I was like, "Oh, I've made it, blah, blah, blah. I'm winning awards, I'm doing this and all this." And actually, once I was able to drop all of that stuff and be humble and always be a student, I may teach from time to time, but I'm always learning. I've been able to navigate in different spaces. I've been able to grow my business. I've been able to network with people who are better than me, who know more than me, and who can teach me. And now I feel like that if I'm not in a room where people are better and smarter than me, then I'm in the wrong
You're in
room.
the wrong room.
I have
Yeah.
to be uncomfortable. I want to learn more. There's so much more for me to do. There's so much more for me to learn. And actually, the only way that I'm going to do that is if I'm around tables where people who are better than me. Ego's not going to stop me from growing at all.
I like that. That's really powerful. So, talk to us about personal branding. Why is it important?
I think just like what you said, it's the thing that people say about you when you're not in the room. I think what people tend to not realize is that 95% of decisions that are made about you are when you are not in the room. So whether you get the job or not, whether you get fired or not, whether you get the girl or the guy or not, when people making decisions about you, it's very, very, very unlikely that they're going to make that decision about you when you're in the room with them. They're going to go away and think about it. And the only way And the only thing that they've got other than any conversations that you've had is your personal brand and your reputation. And what is that saying? And is it going to get you over the line? And I think it's so, so important. We all have personal brands, regardless as to whether you believe it or not, or whether you want one or not. It's just about what is it that you want your personal brand to say? What is it that you want your personal brand to do? And for me, I remember when I was younger and me and my brother would always sing and stuff. And, we were quickly known as the dancing and singing twins, and we would go out and, are you the dancing and singing twins? Personal brand, and then I then just thought, actually, I kind of want to change a little bit and not be known for that. So then I started to dress a certain way. I was immaculate. I was color coordinated from head to toe and wearing the most fashionable items that I could find and so forth. And then I was quickly known for the person that could dress well. And I was like, okay, so this is how this thing works. And then I just started to really cultivate and really start to think about, how do I want to be known? What do I want to be known for? How do I want to be seen? What expertise do I want to be known for? And that started my personal branding journey. And I think anybody that really wants to start their personal branding journey really needs to think about two things. How can I be visible? And how can I be credible? As an entrepreneur, as a founder, those are the two things that you really need to worry about in terms of personal branding. Personal branding cannot exist without one of those things. They're both intrinsic and they have to work with one another. And visibility can come in many different ways, shapes, and form. I always say, if you're not visible, you're invisible. So, many things you could do. Press and PR will give you visibility. Social media will give you visibility. Podcasting and stuff, what we're doing now, would, increase your visibility. And then credibility, very similar, but maybe like winning awards, being experts on panels and speaking engagements, and all those things will give you credibility. And I think it's really, really important that as entrepreneurs, we start thinking about building our personal brands, because I know my career wouldn't be where it is. My businesses wouldn't be where it is. I wouldn't have the support that I have. I wouldn't have the network that I have without a strong personal brand. And I'm just so passionate about really helping and supporting others on that journey, because I just know the benefit of what that can do.
Okay, so you've got to give us the secrets then, because, the way you've made it sound, you just woke up one day and you were amazing at dancing and amazing at singing, and then you could dress really well. But for many of us, I'm not talking about myself, I think I dress okay, but for many of us, it doesn't come as easily. So what are the things we can do particularly if we're an entrepreneur, moving into a space where we may not know many people and we're just coming in from nothing? How do we really build that credibility and that visibility?
All right, so this is going to be a really whistle-stop tour. So the first thing that any entrepreneur needs to do is really ascertain what their core pillars are. And by that, I mean every entrepreneur will have what they want to be known for. What are those 2 to 4 things? No less than 2, no more than 4. Maybe one of them personal. But what is it that you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for being an entrepreneur? Do you want to be known for working in the tech space? Do you want to be known for, being a dad, being a husband? Do you want to be known for being a teacher? Like, what is it that you want to be known for? What is it that you're an expert in? Map those 2 to 4 things down. Let's say it's 4. So for me, very, very clear. I'm known for being an entrepreneur and a lead with kind of personal branding expert. I'm known for being a family man. I have my wife and kids and shout about that all the time. I'm known for, being kind of speaking on social issues and campaign about things that matter. And I'm also known for being a health and fitness, advocate.
I love that. Health and fitness guru.
So those are the 4 things that I'm known for.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't see anything from any of the mediums that I use that doesn't talk to those 4 core pillars. You know, whether it's via my podcast, whether it's awards that I win, whether it's you know, the any blogs that I write, whether it's any speaking engagements that I do, nothing, whether it's my social media, my website, nothing at all, any outlet of mine, any medium wouldn't lend itself to those 4 things. I always think when I'm posting something or when I'm doing something, is this congruent to my core pillars?
So one thing I think a lot about is that women are, generally speaking, this is a generalization, not as strong at bigging themselves up as men are in the entrepreneur space. So I think the figures might have changed, but it's roughly 15 to 17% of tech businesses founded by women. In the investment space, only kind of 10 to 15% of angel investors are women. I'm looking at these stats and I'm thinking there's so much opportunity for women to be more active and kind of share more. We have an interesting space at Foundervine in that we're always looking for speakers and mentors for various accelerators, events. What happens when I put out a call for speakers is that men stick their hands right up. Yes, I can do this. Come and let me share my knowledge and my wisdom with you all. And women don't. And when women do, they tend to recommend a friend that they have who would be great for it. Again, massive overgeneralization. I know incredible women who have awesome personal brands. So very generally speaking, but just taking that advice you've just given us as a woman, what would you say we can do to really kind of build our presence, our visibility and credibility when we are working in very male dominated industries?
Oh, very, very good question. And I think I think when we look at things like that, it does come down to self and the belief that you have in yourself and the work that you're willing to do on your mindset. You know, one of the things I always do with my clients when I'm, you know, coaching my clients in this is we always start with mindset as a starting point, because if you don't believe in putting yourself forward, if you don't believe in standing in front, if there's something in your mind that's not giving you that confidence in order to stand in front of the brand and be like, look, I am here and I am a boss in every way, shape, and form, and I know my industry and very, very well to speak about it, then there's a fundamental problem. Your brand is not going to lift off the ground, full stop. So you have to believe in yourself that you can do it. And it's a work in progress, you know. It's not going to happen overnight. It's definitely a work in progress. But if you've got the belief and the desire to want to, then that's a starting point. You know, if you believe that you can and you've got the desire to want to get over that hurdle, you're just lacking a little bit of confidence. All of that can be worked on. And the more you start to do, the more confident you become, and you just take it in stages. Maybe rather than speaking at an event, maybe speaking in front of a camera on your social media, just start to do incrementally, and you then start to build your confidence. And that's how I always kind of work with my clients. It's little steps, and then you'll become confident enough to speak on those big stages.
So thank you, Tru, for joining us, for all of your insights, for sharing. Thank you for sharing all of the experiences that have shaped who you are and where you are today. Tell us where we can find you or find out more about the work that you do.
I'm everywhere. I am absolutely everywhere. But you can get me on my website. That's trupowell.com. And I am on most social media platforms. And that's at Tru_Powell. That's at Tru_Powell. And it's Tru without the E. TRU_Powell.
Thank you. Thank you for watching and listening to the Immerse Catalyst series in partnership with Lloyds Bank. For more like this, subscribe to our series wherever you are listening. To find out more about the program, please visit our website at www.foundervine.com.